Alright guys, today's video is going to be about the SSR selection chest that we will be able to obtain probably on day 5 if you manage to complete all of the tasks, etc. I kind of already talked about this in my team building guide, which I will link in the video description below, so do check it out where I'll give a bit more in depth, because a lot of time it's not actually just about which characters are good, it's actually more about what gap are you missing on your team. And in my team building guide I actually talk about what are the preferences that you should give in order to consider which SSR, extra SSR you should be obtaining from this chest. So definitely do check that out, okay? But today's video, I will just quickly go through the pros and cons of each one of them, just so that no matter what situation you are in, at least you kind of know what you'll be getting in return for each one of those characters. So starting off with Kentaro, basically he is an opposite hitter who has a surfing skill and also very powerful spike. So he is mainly going to be used if you want to play a very offensive team where you want your opposite hitter to be also offensive rather than defensive, or you actually want a pinch server for your opposite hitter, so therefore you can actually pick him. Now the one situation you would definitely want to avoid him is if you're actually trying to go for Ushijima, because Ushijima is also opposite hitter, and in fact they do pretty much very similar things, because Ushijima is also very offensive, also have that surfing skill, etc. So Kentaro is basically your budget version of Ushijima. If you're going for Ushijima, then you should skip him. If you're not going for Ushijima, then you can potentially pick up Kentaro for that opposite hitter spot, for that offensive capability and also surfing technique. So that's basically Kentaro. Next one we have Kuroo. This is probably the one character I definitely do not recommend anyone to pick, even though he's not a bad character, but he is a practice version of Kuroo, and eventually we'll be getting UR version of Kuroo, and I highly suspect that will be the next UR banner after Ushijima. So this character is going to be power crab very soon. You can't play 2 copies of the same character in this game, so that's kind of why I definitely do not recommend people to pick him up, even though he's decent. Suki, everyone get a copy on day 7, so unless you're going for a dupe, otherwise you should be skipping him as well, so definitely don't pick him up. Daichi is another opposite hitter, so once again, if you are gonna go for Ushijima, you should skip him, otherwise you just basically be wasting your opposite hitter spot. However, if you are not going for Ushijima, then you can actually consider picking him up. The main difference between him and also Kentaro is the fact Daichi is much more for defensive capability, so he's much better at receiving, and also he can restore stamina. So if you, let's say, actually want to play Asahi, who's I will talk about next, Daichi is actually going to be a very good teammate for Asahi to actually bring the most out of him. He also have bond with the other Karasuno character, so that could also potentially be something worth considering. But yeah, Daichi is mainly if you actually want a defensive receiver for your opposite hitter spot. Next we have Asahi. He is probably the worst spiker in my opinion, to be honest, mainly because he uses up so much stamina that you won't even be able to get him through the whole match. Now, the situation where you may actually consider picking Asahi is that if you actually want to play a pure Karasuno team, and therefore you want another wing spiker for this position, and also let's say you have the likes of Daichi, and also you're planning to play Sugawara as your setter, then the 3 of them actually have a very good bond, which can actually help to sustain Asahi's stamina consumption a lot. So that could be one reason. Another reason is that Asahi can actually fix his own stamina issue when you actually dupe him out. So let's say if you already managed to get, let's say for some chance, 2 copy of Asahi already, or maybe 1 copy of Asahi, and then you can get another 2 selection box, then yes, you can potentially choose him as well, because once you get him to 3 dupe and actually unlock his first passive, he can actually fix some of his stamina consumption issue. So that would be the reason why you pick Asahi. Tanaka and Iwaizumi, they should have been one of your picks for the newcomer banner, and then out of the both of them, in my opinion, are the best 2 win spiker in the game. So if you do actually want a win spiker position, which I do actually highly recommend, you should just be picking up the other one, which is not the one you chosen from your newcomer banner. This is probably going to be one of my best suggestions, which works for all kind of players out there. As long as you are missing an SSR for win spiker, those 2 are going to be very solid choice. Okay, so that's going to be my personal suggestion. But obviously, still try to do it from a team building point of view. If you're actually missing an SSR for a certain position, then obviously try to prioritize those first. Okay. Next we have Lev. Lev is I don't actually think he's very good as a mid blocker. However, if you're going for a Nekoma team, you actually this annoying thing with Nekoma is that they only have 4 characters which are at least SSR or higher rarity. So left being one of them basically means that if you actually want to go for the Nekoma school bond, which kind of is the way you want to do it, if you want to play a receiving playstyle, you are kind of forced to bring Lefty. Now, however, right now, Nekoma team is not really being built up because you are still missing the liberal and the setter, and also even the mid blocker that you have, like I said, eventually he will be power crept by his own UR version. So that's kind of why Nekoma right now is not the best choice in terms of team playstyle. However, if you really want to build for future, Lev is definitely someone you will be playing on your Nekoma team. So if you really want to build for future, then you can potentially pick him out just to prepare yourself for that Nekoma team, okay? And lastly, we have 4 players, which are all from the Datetech school. And to be honest, all 4 of them individually, they're just average. However, when you play all 4 of them together, all of a sudden they become one of the best team out there. And to be honest, I'll probably create a guide just for Datetech team because I probably don't see that being used by a lot of players, but it's definitely a very strong team if you do actually happen to have all 4 of them. So it's probably worth giving a shout out to them, and I will probably create a dedicated guide for them in future. But right now, as a simple guidance, I would suggest only picking one out of those 4 if you happen to have at least 2 players already from those 4 SSR. So basically, if you already have 2 players, then you can potentially pick up another one, and then for the 4th slot, you can potentially just use the SR version for that transition period till you eventually get them. Or if you're actually lucky enough to go all the way to 120 pity on the Ushijima banner, you can pick up another SSR selection chest, and then therefore you can have 2 characters from the school already, pick another one from here, pick another one from the one you will be getting from Ushijima banner, and therefore you can then make the whole team from Datetech, which is definitely a very strong team, which I will, like I said, I'll post a separate video in future. Now, if you can only get, let's say, 3 of them, probably Aeon is probably the one that you can left out of the 4. The main reason is that the reason you actually want to play Datetech school together is because of outside of the mid block position, vast majority of characters who are actually capable of blocking are the ones from Datetech school. So therefore, if you actually want to replace a mid blocker with someone else from their school, you can always do that because vast majority of mid blockers in this game can block. However, if you actually want to replace another position with someone else who can also block, unfortunately you will be out of luck. So that's kind of why if you are in some situation can only pick 3 out of the 4, Aeon is probably going to be the last choice out of the 4, mainly because he can be replaced on Datetech team. However, I kind of only recommend you guys going after someone from their school if you are certain you'll be able to get all 4 of them, okay?